And it's not just him they're not getting answers from. Like I said, they're not getting answers from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre here regarding classified documents. And you got a reporter here taking another stab at this thing on, hey, have you been truthful from the podium, Karine? Have you been telling us everything? Can you concretely say that you've been transparent, that you've been legitimately telling us truthful information? You guys, watch her response here.
James in the back.
Karine, thank you. I have two questions, one about the documents case and one about the Tyre Nichols funeral. On the documents case, one of the features of the early public narrative of this episode that has kind of already taken root is the reporting to the effect that statements from this podium at different points later proved to be inaccurate. And without expecting you to delve into the details, because we all know that you cannot from the podium, I nonetheless wonder if you could simply assure us that you challenge that element of this narrative, that you are satisfied personally with the accuracy of all of the information that you've dispensed from this podium.
So, James.
Okay, just pause it for a moment, folks. How you teach somebody literally from kindergarten to high school to answer someone's question is in your answer, you repeat the very question they said, and then you give a short response, give or take how long or how much information you need to provide based on the question that was given. It's a simple question. I am very satisfied with all the information that I've had, and I've been truthful from this podium since day one. Simple. There you go. Let's hear her response.
Look, I'll say at this podium, I will always follow the guidance of the White House Counsel Office when it comes to ongoing investigations. We've been very clear about just ongoing investigations.
Amazing.
That is led by the Department of Justice, making sure that they have their independence. This is something that the president has talked about through the campaign and through the last 2 years. I have been consistent about that. When I have made statements from this podium on this investigation, it was at the guidance of the counsel's office and consistent with what they have said.
Let's blame it on the White House counsel, even though in the first segment that we saw, those knuckleheads don't have a clue what's going on. I'll talk to the archives, talk to the DOJ, talk to this guy that probably doesn't exist here or there because it's a whole cover-up. Oh, we're trying to respect everybody's integrity and their authority. We don't want to step on anybody's foot here. But no, she's been truthful since day one. She's totally satisfied with the information she's had, even though she was thrown under the bus numerous amounts of times here. What a cluster, you know what?
And wanted to communicate at the time, right? And I have said this, the White House counsel's office has said this. One of the reasons we try not to comment on this is because it's changing, right? It is currently under investigation. And when you have a legal matter, as you know, I know you understand this, things change and things move very, very quickly. And so I've continued to provide the information that I have had at the time, and I'll continue to do that.
I don't know if that's fully true because she might have known about the second set of classified documents when reporters were asking her about the first set of classified documents on that briefing, which I think was January 11th or the 12th. It was one of those days. Everybody came back going, well, hey, we just found out there's a second set of classified documents found all the way back in December. Did you know about them? She's like, oh, well, we're being transparent, right? I'm being transparent with you. I have all the information. Oh, God. Go to the White House counsel. Talk to the DOJ. I got nothing for you. Come on. Now, he also raises a great question about the police killings or the murder that basically was conducted on Mr. Nichols that we have covered here on the Bob Brad Show. But he asks a great question going, how does the president basically determine on what he's going to make a national issue and kind of blow up? When there's other police officers that are being killed, there's people being beaten by police officers, killed from police officers, whatever it may be, why are you choosing to pick that one over other ones? And let's hear her response from this.
On the Tyre Nichols funeral, and posing this question with no aspersions cast on what I think all observers thought was a very eloquent eulogy delivered by the Vice President, I think the event calls into question how the Biden White House goes about deciding which atrocities, which tragedies merit high-level attention from the president or the vice president. So in addition to the Nichols funeral, for example, we saw that the president called the parents of Damar Hamlin, an injured NFL player. I checked the White House website just before coming into the briefing room today, and I see no indication that the chief executive has at any time reached out to the family of Justin McIntyre, who was the police chief in Brackenridge, Pennsylvania, who was shot to death in the line of duty, a father of four. Why not?
So I'll say this. If you look at this president, who has been a senator for 36 years, who has been a vice president for 8 years, and who has been clearly, finishing up his 2 years tenure and a 4-year presidency thus far, he, if you know Joe Biden, you know that he feels the pain of many families who have lost loved ones, because he knows what that means. You've named one family in particular. I understand why you're naming that family in particular, but there's been many families that he has called to offer up, his condolences and offer up his help and assistance in any way.
Yeah, you can make a phone call, but the vice president was there speaking and giving a eulogy. And so again, the question, Karine, because I know that you miss it every single time. Somehow you literally get questions every single day. You get paid $180,000 to literally make up questions yourself and answer those very questions, or literally hear somebody's question incorrectly and somehow formulate in your head some cockamamie thing that nobody else heard, and then give an answer to that cockamamie thing that nobody else heard. So again, the question was revolving around, how does the president choose which basically cases he's going to spotlight here? And you're saying, well, he makes phone calls because that's on the same level. Short answer here, you guys, it fits their narrative. Okay, they wanted to fund the police. I know Joe Biden says he doesn't, but let's be honest, the base of his party does. And this is a great opportunity, great spotlight to sit there and show that the police are conducting brutalities and that we need some sort of reform, which I do agree in some way, shape, or form. But it's not going to stop what took place, because those guys were animals on what they did to this man. But at the end of the day, it's about narrative. It is about narrative.
We do not read out all of those conversations, but if you know Joe Biden, and if you've been around Joe Biden, you know that this is something that the president does in a way that many politicians, at least that I have worked for, are not capable of doing. And the president will always be committed and always be open to talking to families who are hurting, who are going through a tough time, especially of a lost loved one. And I think the two that you just named were just very public. They were two incredibly public situations that where the president was able to reach out in a way that that people knew about, right? That people were able to see how the president.
So you're capitalizing on the spotlight to push a narrative because it was in the spotlight, but yet you're going to sit there and connect the two and correlate the two on the fact that he makes a phone call to family members that aren't in the spotlight, but to spotlight the things that go against your narrative would be a lot more helpful as well, to make it seem like you weren't biased towards a specific narrative of which you're trying not to highlight here, and just say that Joe Biden makes a bunch of phone calls, even though you had the vice president show up and him, highlighting this and that. It's a bunch of craziness.
It uses what he does so well, his understanding, his compassion for others. And so I would not, again, you named one family. The president has been clearly in the world of politics for a long time, and he has had many, many conversations with families who have lost ones. I
don't think anybody would deny that Joe Biden hasn't had many conversations with families that have lost loved ones. I'm sure that he has, but again, to sit there and correlate and make the connection to the fact that you're capitalizing on the spotlight of somebody that passed. And again, it was a brutal passing and should have never happened, but that's what she's going to do, is spin it. The president does this and that, because again, it's the same idea. Well, he's making phone calls. Oh, well, he talked to these people. They did the same thing with illegal immigration, right? Well, he showed up the border. He talked to people. Well, no, he's been to the border. You can't say he hasn't been to the border. He's been to the border. So this is the whole thing that they do, this whole spiel. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.